Harry, before we begin another lengthy attack on the work of Tom Grindberg, as I promise to show you the trading card that came with this annual, and here is a shocking twist for you. You're ganning to see two of the buggers. Mine came with two. I had forgotten that. This is the new bad guy. This annual introduces Hrinmeer the Flame. On the reverse, we have a little bio for him. I would love to talk about him more, but we have Tom Grindberg as art, and he is atrocious. And even in this issue, which contains his best work, he is still atrocious. This cover, for example, is abhorrent. Not just Thor's anatomy, but he doesn't seem to be standing on anything. If you are unfamiliar with Tom Grindberg, as he was a thing for a few years in the 90s. He is appalling. No understanding of art at all. But someone along the way thought that he had a style rather than criminal weaknesses. And so he got to draw Thor. He got to draw Green Lanterns. He got to draw all sorts. And he cannot draw. The art in this first story is actually almost acceptable. It nearly looks like an intentional style rather than a bad artist. I did some research and I think I worked it out. The inker of this never again inked Tom Grindberg as. I have had to experience Tom Grindberg's art in so many different books that I feel knowledgeable enough to say that this is clear to me, the inker making some sense of his art and finishing things off, or better, taking Tom Grindberg's poor pencils and making it look like a consistent style. Looking at this by itself, this issue, you might even think that he is just a low-rent Simon Waltonson or Michael Elboy. This is the most accomplished that his art has ever looked. There is still a lot of problems, but I will give him a pass for it. I get the feeling you might think I am over-exaggerating how bad Tom Grindberg is, or that you may be ganning, I don't like the style, but it's not as bad as that hogwash on Avengers at the time. I won't bang me head against the wall and try and plead with you that Tom Grindberg is the worst. And especially not in an issue which should be more complimentary to him. Even if I do believe all the praise belongs with the inker. In 1993, Marvel scrapped the crossovers running through annuals and chose to give them a theme. This year was introducing new characters. Characters that were meant to be serious efforts to create something that would last. Ironically, very few of them did. And people love to razz on the idea for that. But those people are also ignoring that a lot of them did actually end up with some history. The main one, the obvious one in the lead, is Captain Marbles. The real one, Genesvel. He has held down four solo series now. Yes, I read it online, and I regret it offline. Fuck David Peter. When he is out of ideas, man alive, is he out of ideas? In Excellent Men, we had Extinctioner, valid character, decent amount of appearances of him afterwards. Avengers had Bloodrath, who was doing well until Kurt Busey came along and hated the 90s and got rid of him forever. We also have one of Tom Beavort's most hated characters ever, Adam X, the Extreme. And now I am forgetting some of the characters, certainly. There will be at least 2 or 3 others that are just escaping me mind. But the main thing is, I just mentioned 2 of the Bs, Busey and Beavort, and the third is coming within a few minutes. Hrinmeer the Flame I like. He didn't have much presence after his introduction here, but there are 2 more appearances to talk about. He is a simple character though, and that is a strength that a lot of the other characters from these annuals lacked. Hrinmeer is the unwanted offspring of a fire demon raping an elf woman. It was the 90s. It needed a little bit of extremity in it. So he is an outcast. He is shunned. He is considered ugly. And this here is the best thing that Tom Grindberg has ever penciled. This splash page. Hrinmeer is wearing big bulky armour, so his anatomy and his scale are allowed to be a bit weird. His feet are a problem, but feet, or any limbs, are always issues for Tom Grindbergers. I accept this though. If I didn't know everything else Tom Grindbergers has drawn, if I just saw this and nothing else, I would say there is actual potential here. There looks to be a style. And yes, it is very fucking derivative of Michael Hellboy, but I do think there is something to work with there.
What? Shutterstock can't be gay. He watches all the macho movies, like Gladiator.
Tom Grindberger's art, definitely worse than Robert Liefeldman's. But yeah, this just looks the closest that Tom Grindberger has gotten to the actual defence that his art is in a style. I know that it is not a style, that his faults are not part of a style. The style is to cover for the faults. He started off doing normal art, and it still had all his usual tics. He did an Extra Factors annual, where nothing is in the same scale, everyone's heads are dramatically different sizes, people have meatballs as random parts of their body. But even this is passable. This is acceptable. Compared to his other work, this is terrific. I didn't think I am being unfair saying that it is the inker, because Tom Grindberger's never managed to even closely achieve anything that looked this alright before. Maybe that cover that is just Phineas's face. That one is so close up it is hard for him to fumble. I hope people didn't mind that I am not judiciously tearing into Tom Grindberger's work here. Like Thor's anatomy with his folded arms. It just doesn't stick out the way it normally does. I mean, yeah, his arms are too big and his neck does seem a bit iffy. But as I said, it feels like a stylistic approach rather than a totally useless artist. I've got to turn a lot of pages here to get to Thor fighting Hrinmeer. Hrinmeer, or the Flame if you prefer, I don't. He hates Thor because Thor is like everything he wants to be. A handsome warrior man, loved by everyone, but Hrinmeer is seen as a monster and shunned. And down there is something a bit more in line with classic Tom Grindberger's abominations. And yeah, there is plenty of wonky art in here, and especially with Thor, or anything that's meant to be human or humanoid. Let's talk about Hrinmeer's future though. He does have other appearances. He is in the next annual, for annual 19, and that issue should have been in the Epic Collection I unboxed yesterday, because it takes place in between pages of 475. He is a main character in that annual, and it is nice to see another writer handle him and take him seriously. And maybe if Thor didn't get cancelled and rebooted, this character could have been better implemented into his rogues gallery over time. His next appearance is he died off panel when Michael Bryan Benson's mate killed off all of Thor's universe and mythology because Michael Bryan Benson didn't want to write any of it in Avengers. That is him there, easy to miss, impaled on his own sword and died off panel. Never came back because he is not part of the traditional Norse mythology, so he wasn't reborn when Fairyland and Thor were. I had to go to my local library yesterday just to get this cut away. I think I might have broken their bandwidth by downloading a 2GB file to rip one page from it. I didn't want my videos to ever be too long because who could put up with me for 30 minutes? But in this case, we still have the backup stories to talk about, and I am already resorting to skipping over pages, and pages with some of the more questionable bits of artwork. But you see, Hrinmeer's face is totally fine. It is a flat-out rip-off of my favourite character from Jack Quimby's New Gods at Marvel. I think Hrinmeer has potential. He is basic, but that helps with Thor. And yesterday, I said that this was out of sequence in the Epic Collection, and I would still say it is, but the core story here is told as a flashback by Gimli. And then we have a backup story, and it is by a different artist, but also an artist I think is overrated. However, next to Tom Grindberger's, you cannot complain about this. We have Hrinmeer meeting Tom Hiddleston, and this issue is one of those that online scalpers have fucking upped the price of dramatically for the most asinine and incorrect reason. It is the first appearance of female Tom Hiddleston. No, it is not. This is an illusion. This doesn't remotely tie in with when Tom Hiddleston had a woman's body 10 years later. Are you going to say that this one here is the first appearance of Alligator Tom Hiddleston too? But yeah, this issue is like 30 quid and upwards now, and it is not worth that. And it is the same bullshit fallacy those bastards use every time. People are charging 60 quid for Marvel 2 for 154, claiming that it is the first appearance of Jamelia Jamil's character, when it is the first appearance of an unrelated character with the same name. We end with more Tom Grindbergers, and he has a different inker this time. A Beta Ray Cyrus story. And Beta Ray Cyrus is another character that he can sometimes get away with, even without the other inker helping out. This middle shot here of Beta Ray Cyrus is acceptable. His head is too small, but as a bit of art, it is acceptable. The rest of the story has some moments where we do see a lot of his failings. Tiny feet, tiny heads, legs and arms of staggeringly different lengths. In a time when Thor comics were mostly bad, I find this to be refreshing. I feel I have said the word acceptable far too much in this video, but I would say it is a word that sums up this. It is acceptable, and I hope it accepts my 7 thumbs up. I am about to export this video, and I realised I misread his name in this issue. It is not Hrinmeer, it is Hrinmeer. I think the close proximity of the letters I, N and M, and they all having the same shape of an I in them, makes it an understandable mistake.